All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So today we're going to be talking about AI and AGI,
Yes.
and specifically looking at this YouTube video called AI versus AGI, What's the Difference?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think it's interesting because you hear all this stuff about AI in the news,
Right.
and I think one of the big things that this video does is clarify some of the terms because it can be a little bit confusing, like what exactly
Yeah.
are people talking about when they're talking about AI?
It is a very broad term, and it can encompass so many different things.
Right?
But this video does a good job of, like, right off the bat,
Yeah.
breaking it down between what we currently have, which is often referred to as, like, narrow AI or weak AI,
Right.
as opposed to AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Right. And it's interesting because they call it narrow or weak AI,
Right.
but even stuff that is considered narrow AI is like pretty amazing, right?
Oh, yeah,
Let's look
absolutely.
about like ChatGPT. I mean, that thing can like practically write a screenplay now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It can generate text that is indistinguishable from, like, a human written text.
Yeah, this is crazy.
And there's so many other examples like, Google's recommendation algorithms. Those are all powered by AI.
Right. Or like self-driving car.
Self-driving cars, exactly. Yeah.
So that's all considered like narrow or weak
Yeah.
AI,
Right.
which I guess is the point that like even within this narrow scope,
Yes.
it's still like super powerful.
It's incredibly powerful, and it's already like transforming so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
But the key thing is that it is narrow, right? So it's like, it can do this one thing really, really well, but
Right.
it's not able to, like, generalize that knowledge to other areas or, like, learn completely new things outside of its specific domain.
Right. So it's kind of like you could have like a chess playing AI that's
Mhm.
like amazing at playing chess, but you couldn't then be like, okay, now go write me a poem.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very much like task specific.
Right. Okay. So then AGI.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the next level.
Yeah. Right. That's the big dream, right? That's what a lot of people are really excited about.
Right. And this is what gets more into like the sci-fi realm, I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of, futuristic feel to it.
Right. So like what exactly would make something AGI?
So AGI is about achieving a level of intelligence in a machine that is essentially indistinguishable from human intelligence.
Okay.
So it's not just about, being able to do one specific task really well.
Right.
It's about being able to learn anything, to adapt to any situation, to reason through problems, to
Wow.
potentially even experience emotions.
So that's like a big difference from what we currently have
Huge difference, yeah.
with AI.
Yeah, because right now, like, we have these AIs that can, they're very good at pattern recognition. They can, analyze data and make predictions.
Right.
But they're not really thinking in the way that a human thinks.
Okay.
So AGI is about trying to replicate that kind of general cognitive ability.
So it's almost like the difference between like, if you're teaching someone how to drive a car,
Right.
you're like, okay, here's how you steer, here's how you use the pedals versus like baking a cake.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, you got to know all these different ingredients and measurements and techniques.
Exactly. It's like, AI is like being given very specific instructions on how to perform a particular task.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas AGI is like having the ability to figure things out on your own, to learn from experience and to adapt to new situations.
Okay, that makes sense. So like, where are we at now? Like, how close are we to actually having AGI?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And honestly, nobody knows for sure.
Okay.
There are some experts who are very optimistic, and they point to the rapid progress that we've made in AI in recent years.
Right. Like in the video, they talk about things like GPT-4 and AlphaFold.
Exactly.
And those seem like pretty big leaps forward.
They are. They're very impressive technologies. GPT-4, for example, is this language model that can generate incredibly human-like text.
Right. It's crazy how realistic it is.
It's really remarkable. And then AlphaFold is this AI that's been used to predict the structure of proteins,
Okay.
which is a huge deal for, like, biology and medicine.
Wow. So are those like early steps towards AGI or are they totally separate?
That's a good question. I think, they're definitely pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Right.
But I think most experts would agree that they're not quite AGI yet,
Okay.
because they're still operating within these specific domains.
Right. So there's still narrow AI, just very advanced narrow AI.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So then like how far off are we from actually achieving AGI?
Well, the video mentions some predictions from experts like Elon Musk and others suggesting that AGI might emerge as early as 2040.
Wow, that's not that far away.
It's not that far away, but, it's important to remember that these are just predictions,
Right.
and predicting the future of technology is notoriously difficult.
Okay, so it could be 2040. It could be like way further out.
It could be, yeah, it could be sooner, it could be later. But I think the important thing is that, the possibility of AGI is something that we need to be thinking about now.
Right, and I think that's another thing that the video does a good job of is talking about like the potential implications of AGI.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people hear AGI and they immediately go to like, the Terminator.
Right, the robot apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's a common fear.
Right. But the video also talks about like the potential for AGI to be like a really positive force in the world.
Right, and I think that's really important to emphasize because, you know, AGI have the potential to solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
Right.
We're talking about things like climate change, disease, poverty.
Hmm.
Like, if we can develop AGI safely and ethically, it could be a game changer.
Yeah.
But of course, there are risks too, and those are things that we need to be very careful about.
So it's almost like AGI is kind of like this, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Right. It has the potential to be like this amazing thing for humanity. Yeah.
But it also has the potential to be very dangerous.
Right. And I think a lot of it comes down to how we develop it.
Right, like what are the safeguards that we put in place?
Exactly.
And what are the ethical considerations?
Yeah, and those are all conversations that we need to be having now.
Right, like before it's too late?
Exactly, because once we have AGI, it's going to be very difficult to put the genie back in the bottle.
Right. Okay, so to kind of wrap things up,
Yeah.
what are like the big takeaways from all of this for you?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is just the sheer potential of AGI
Right.
to reshape our world. Uh, it really does have the potential to be this like transformative technology.
Mhm.
But we need to be very careful about how we develop it.
Right.
We need to make sure that we're prioritizing safety and ethics.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to end on because I think that's something that all of our listeners should be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Is, as we move further into this age of AI,
Yeah.
how can we ensure that AI is used for good and that it benefits humanity?
That's the key question.
Yeah. All right, well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
And I think it's given us all a lot to think about. So thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.